Howdy folks, welcome back to another episode of Probably Not So Good Eats, where I try cooking. Most of the time I try cooking with weird ingredients. Today the ingredients are relatively normal, but I'm just naturally I'm pretty inexperienced when it comes to cooking stuff. So that's probably where the probably not so is going to come into play there. But yeah, welcome back. So today is National Pie Day, hence I'm wearing a pie shirt there. I always thought Pie Day was March 14th, but it turns out that January 23rd, also National Pie Day. I think I also saw that December 1st is also National Pie Day. So you have many different excuses for days to eat pie. So today we're going to make kind of a variation of sweet potato pie. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. So first I'm going to go ahead and plug this guy in, just so we don't run out of battery as we're going through here. So for those of you who are fans of the show and have seen episodes 1 and 2, I don't do this too often know that whenever I'm baking or doing something in the kitchen, I always like to have a good soundtrack going on. So today we are going to be listening to Hulse Planets Suite from start to finish. So if you hear me humming in the background, I'm probably humming to one of the planets there. So in the background right now is Mars, Bringer of War. We'll just be listening to it all the way through here as we go along. Alright, so the first thing is, I don't have any pie crust. So I'm going to go ahead and start off just by making the pie crust here. This is a pie crust that I found. I'll go ahead and attribute the author here. So this is from Taste of Lizzie T is the website that I got this from here. So this is an oatmeal pie crust. With no further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. Alright, so to start off here, we're going to take some oatmeal. It says to get 1 cup of oats. These are just old-fashioned oats here. This is my cup measure. Mix those up here. Alright, so 1 cup of oats. We need 1/3 cup of flour. So the flour that I have is just whole wheat flour. And let's see if we need the 1/3 cup. That would be it. Alright. Drizzle that in there. Then we need 1/3 cup of brown sugar. So cool thing that I learned, again, I'm not necessarily the most experienced when it comes to chef stuff. My brown sugar got really, really hard. So I was wondering if there's a way that I can soften brown sugar. And little tip for you guys, you can take a moistened paper towel and just stick it on the brown sugar and then just stick it in the microwave for about 20 to 30 seconds, depending on kind of intervals of 20 to 30 seconds, how it gets to the softness that you want. That will actually soften your brown sugar, so kind of a nice thing. In general, I think if you store brown sugar in like a container and you put like a piece of bread or something like that, that will also provide moisture for the brown sugar so it doesn't get hard in the future. Promptly after softening this brown sugar, I put the rest of the brown sugar with the bag open, off in the corner. So chances are it will probably get hard, so I'll probably need to look back at this video and figure out how to soften brown sugar once again. But there you go. Just kind of a free trick for you there. Alright, so we need 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. I'm going to go ahead and get kind of a spoon here. It is already starting to harden here. Alright. And so we'll mix that guy in here as well. Alright. And then we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So one of these is a teaspoon. 1/2 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon. All right, where's my salt? There's my salt. So yeah, so I'm just using sea salt here. Again, not sure if there's anything magical about what type of salt you use. There. There's a big chunk there. I'll try to avoid that. Remove the excess. Alright, so there's the salt. Alright, and then we need 1/3 cup of butter. Alright, so yeah, so one thing that I might run out of is I only have a stick of butter, and I'm going to need butter for some other ingredients later on here. So yeah, so one thing that I might run out of, and it's like negative 18 degrees Fahrenheit outside there. So one of the main things that I wanted to do is I didn't want to go out into the cold. So yeah, so I might run out of butter. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. I found out that you can use different types of oils as a substitute for butter. So I'm going to go ahead and use some olive oil here in place of the butter. From what I read, you use 3/4 of a cup of oil for each cup of butter. So if you have 1/3 of a cup of butter, 3/4 times 1/3, that's going to be 1/4 of a cup of oil there. So yeah, so I'm going to use 1/4 of a cup of oil in place of the 1/3 of a cup of butter there. Also, I'm going to be baking this, so I'm going to go ahead and start preheating the oven to 375. Alright. So yeah, so this may change the taste a little bit. It may start an interesting flavor here, but we'll see what happens. Alright. Alright. And then it says to mix this. I think in the video they were using like a pastry cutter. I don't own a pastry cutter. So yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and use kind of a baking spoon here. Kind of mix this up. I think they were mainly worried about using a pastry cutter to kind of cut the butter up, which we're using liquid olive oil, so we don't really have to worry about cutting that up there. We're worried more about cutting these chunks of brown sugar up. I think we're on to Venus now. Using those two planets there. Let's go cut that up, cut that up, cut that up. And it says mix until crumbly. I think it already kind of started off crumbly, so I'm not sure what that means. Break up these brown sugar chunks here. That's kind of the main thing I'm worried about. That's that. That way the brown sugar kind of gets mixed in with all the ingredients as opposed to just having huge clumps of brown sugar here and there. Alright. Okay, so then we're going to press this into our pie tin. Right there. Alright, already is looking dramatically different than the recipe, so again, we'll see how this works. Full disclosure, I haven't made this before. I made kind of the filling side, but this is my first kind of foray into making my own pie crust. So I'm kind of just following the recipe as best that I can, and kind of hoping for the best here. Alright. gotta wait for that guy to preheat, so then we can bake the crust. That way the crust gets cooked kind of all the way through there. And we eat some more of a crispy crust as opposed to kind of the soggy crust there. So yeah, so we'll kind of set this off to the side here, and we'll start making kind of the inside ingredients. So what actually is going to be in our pie there. All right. Oh, I think I forgot to grease the pan. All right, I forgot to grease the pan. I think I remember I was warned to make sure you grease the pan before you do that. Yeah, so we'll just kind of redo that here. So yeah, go ahead and lightly grease the pan here. Oopsie. Alright. There we go. Take two. Alright, so now for the inside stuff. So again, it's going to be kind of a sweet potato base, but it's going to have some other ingredients in there as well. Alright. So yeah. So again, we'll set this off to the side and start making kind of the inside ingredients here. Alright, so inside, we need a can of sweet potatoes. So I have my can of sweet potatoes here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. So yeah, so for the first episode, I made kind of a carrot dish because I was forced to use carrots. And I'm kind of following the same recipe as that, only again, instead of carrots, it's sweet potatoes. And from my experience, sweet potatoes taste better in this thing than carrots do there. So yeah, so I'm just going to start off just by draining off these sweet potatoes here. So yeah, so we're going to mix sweet potatoes. Get out there. All right. So yeah, so we're going to mix sweet potatoes, 1 egg. A quarter of a cup of milk. All right, we had half a cup of sugar. Half a cup of cane sugar here. That in there. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I think I still have my vanilla from last time here. There we are, liquid gold itself. All right, and we want 1 teaspoon. Yeah, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. All right. And then we want a quarter of a cup of butter. So that is 4 tablespoons of butter here. Yeah, I think all that's left is to mix this guy. All right. So that is going to be kind of the inside filling of the pie there. Alright, so then I'm going to go ahead and create the top crust here. Alright, so for the top crust, I'm going to go ahead and get my crust bowl here. Alright, so for the top crust, we need a half a cup of brown sugar. Alright, so again, I have my brown sugar here. It's already solidifying. Ah! Brown sugar everywhere. My goodness. How does it get hard so fast? If I was actually Alton Brown here and this is actually Good Eats, he'd probably have like molecules come down from the ceiling and be explaining, this is how the brown sugar gets hard so fast. See, the sugar molecules stick together and the water inside evaporates. And then they crystallize to form crystals, and that's how it gets hard so fast. That was just my best guess there. I'm honestly not quite sure how it all works. Again, I am not Alton Brown here. Alright. So we have a heaping half cup of brown sugar. A little extra brown sugar, never hurt anybody, right? Alright, and then we need a half a cup of chopped pecans. So I do not have pecans, but I have the next best thing. So I have walnuts. So we're going to try this with walnuts here. And these are halves and pieces, so these are not chopped either, so I'm losing on 2 counts, but let's see what happens. Alright, there we go. And walnuts. Alright, and then we need 1/6 of a cup of flour. Get the flour here, 1/6 of a cup. I might have 1/6 of a cup measure. So 1/6 is half of a third. So we're just going to kind of eyeball. We have our 1/3 cup measure here. And we're going to kind of eyeball half that. That looks like that's about half of that. Alright, and our oven went off, so we're preheated. So I'm going to go ahead and start baking the crust here. Alright, so we want to bake this crust for 13 to 15 minutes. So timer. 13 minutes. Alright. Then we need 1/6 of a cup of flour. Got that. And we need 1/6 of a cup of softened butter. So 1/6 of a cup. I think I cut that part. 1/3 of a cup is about there. So 1/3 of a cup is a little bit past 5 tablespoons. So 1/6 of a cup, again, it's going to be half a third. So that's going to be a little bit over 2.5 tablespoons. Again, this isn't an exact science here. Alright, and then we're going to mix this guy up.